Okay, this is day 30, and as I said from the beginning, there's going to be a code here that's going to be it's going to just be too highly unlikely to have occurred. And this is like the code word used that DynCorp used in the Enron scandal. They used the word rawhide. All these traders were using the word rawhide at a frequency of about 100,000 times the frequency a normal energy trader would use the word rawhide. And it broke the whole case open. And I think this Natalia Sova thing is going to be that as well. Natalia being a satellite acquisition methodology for getting free satellite imagery from Galileo satellites, and then Nova being a mapping capability for interpreting satellite data. But we don't know that yet. But if you haven't seen the attacks, just the vitriolic attacks by the different news people on Uranium One, everybody's a conspiracy theorist. Well, you know what? We're looking at bills of lading. We're looking at satellite imagery and cylinders moving, and we're looking at Nuclear Regulatory Commission documentation, and we're FOIA-ing government documents. So it's not like we're talking about theory. I mean, these are all documents. So this is a very document based. So it's just interesting to see kind of from all sides, people just the mainstream media kind of attacking this prospect. I say it goes from South Carolina, yellow cake uranium, to the UAE, and to support all these different. Now, for instance, the Iran deal was negotiated totally on BlackBerries off the State Department servers, statedepartment.gov server. Why? It just fits that if you were selling them uranium, you would want to negotiate that off book. So until they come forward with some email just saying, hey, this shows that this didn't happen, I'm going to continue to pursue it. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and you have to pursue it. So here it is. This is what I call the Toisier, which is a Twitter dossier, where instead of when you tweet something out, everyone's saying, oh, I think this, I think that, and a bunch of speculation. I like when it drills down from document to document to document, down to the actual, day and time and so forth of a shipment or some new knowledge for the people that are reading the tweet. And here is the Galileo system. And I was thinking, I watched the old episode of when I first got out of the parallel construction that Mr. Pettyjohn at FBI arranged for me in Zanesville, and I was very much talking about the satellite imagery. There had to be a way of watching these containers move around, and I saw it again, and it made me think of the Joint Spectrum Center and where I believe Abid Awan had worked, and I was saying, where can you get free satellite imagery? And it turns out, yes, you can. It's called Natalia. It's a program called Natalia. So, and then there's the difference. I believe these are just different satellites that you can get imagery from. Now, they're real particular about this, saying, hey, don't download too much. You can't do systematic downloading like, you're a whole bunch of stuff. But if you were smart enough to put in the long lat codes, like the Freytag codes, and send it to this algorithm, you could use this algorithm called Sova here to interpret and decode the images, the image processing. Now, this is just the start here, but this may explain why it's been so difficult for me to serve Natalia Sova. And it's the one odd man out of the Awan gang. All six have other names that are, Pakistani, but then there's this Ukrainian name. Again, I say this is connected to Nadra, and the Awans are developing a logistics application for ratlines, but it's also being used as a surveillance application for companies all around the world. We just saw where Pakistan was buying all their satellite surveillance data, military data from Suparkor. That's from the head of the Pakistani army. He's the one who said all the Middle Eastern armies are ceremonial except Turkey. So he's providing all the military data for all the armies of the Middle East, which really are kind of extensions of the House of Saud. So anyway, the beautiful thing about these discussions is it drills down to ground. This is exactly how the FBI does it. They run the leads to ground. And you'll hear them use that expression. And here's the U.S. enrichment facility. This is where the 8 rodents are killed recently. which is very unusual to have an octo murder. Octo murders are usually don't happen very often. Usually more like a state-run red team would do an octo murder. Anyway, here's where Worthington cylinders are. Worthington cylinders are where Barry Kelly is giving the $2.5 million worth of bribes to this Russian Mikarin at Uranium One. Now, to me, this is the first guy I want to talk to in the Senate. When did you come about the idea, Barry, that you should start bribing a Russian company? I realize you wanted to sell lots of containers, but who is Barry Kelly? Bring him forward. If anybody has a picture of Barry Kelly, let's see him. When did Barry Kelly start giving bribes to Mikarin at Uranium One? Let us know. Now, it's funny that the Podestas also have a company called Uranium One that Kim Fritz was the head of, and they also have a company called ARMZ, which Kim Fritz was the head of. So I would like to know any connections to the Podesta group here as well. And then here are this is transportation logistics. Now, the only reason I keep going back to the Saipov truckers, the Saipov was the guy who ran these people down in New York, is the guy had a TLI email. So, and he has 5 trucking companies. And why, again, would the mainstream media want to suppress the fact the guy has 5 trucking companies? So anyway, I put pictures out here of the process in Paducah, Kentucky for servicing these containers, and they have to be sent off every once in a while to be somehow cleaned or something. They build up radioactivity or something. I don't know the process yet. But that would be the perfect time to use these containers as open storage vessels to send it to a place like Piketown, Ohio, or Paducah, and maybe use it for contraband. I don't know. Weapons going one way, they're big. They're 4 meters by 4 feet. They're big, so we don't know. They're 12 tons. So and then finally, I just did a little bit of comparisons between where the containers were. These 2-meter containers, which were the U-30, I think of about the size of a coffin, I guess. And then there's these big kahunas, these 12 tons, and they move from this about the time the Uranium One deal happens, from going to these 30Bs to these new 48Ys, which hold 4 times more. These are 2,000 kilograms, about a ton, and these will hold 4 tons. So it was interesting that they made that move. And the interesting part of the mathematics here is, again, my second guy that I want to put up in front of the Senate is not, again, Campbell Soup, Mr. Campbell Soup, William Campbell. I don't want to see William Campbell. I want to see Mark Lambert. I want to see the guy who filled out the nuclear regulatory export documents both in 2014 and in 2008. And I think maybe there's a 2011 I'm missing. But anyway, this is what I'm saying. It's very document-based. Why did you go from 250,000 kilograms to 50 million? 250,000 going up to 48 million. So you read that right. About a 200 times increase between the 2008 license here and the 2014 license. Now, a 200 times increase, then the company has 12 trucks. Did they get 200 times more trucks? I doubt it. Did they sub it out to 200 different trucking companies, or maybe 50 different trucking companies using the bigger container? Is that the reason why they went to the bigger container? So we should be looking for at least 23 trucking companies, and I think they're going to be Saipov trucking companies. Why do I say that? Well, because the guy had a TLI email. Let's discover the TLI email and find out where these people are from. Let's discover the EB-5 visas. Trump's is the one who said himself there's 23 people that this guy, Saipov, brought in. Now, we know there's 5 trucking companies he owns, one in Cleveland, one in Cincinnati, one in Chicago, one in Florida, one in Minnesota. Well, maybe he just had 5, and then a whole bunch of people came in to run those companies, to trucking all hours of the day. We don't know. Or maybe there's more trucking companies with these EB-5 visas. We really don't know. But as I said before, I think it's all, and here's a Wall Street Journal article for people who are saying this is some kind of conspiracy theory. And it talks about how this Russian uranium probe comes to this small town. Now, these are much larger containers. The containers aren't this big. So these are some kind of industrial process things here. But anyway, I think it's going to be Natalia Sova. I think that wands, I mean, from what it looks like, again, I didn't write the Natalia code name for the Galileo satellites. I didn't do the algorithm for interpreting them, calling them Sova. Believe it or not, I had nothing to do with either of these two things. And I didn't pay Natalia Sova $166,000 a year in Congress, okay? So to me, it looks like they're doing the logistics, just like I said, they're doing the shipping logistics for the blue water part. You know, this is the blue sky part. This blue sky part is they're doing the logistics in the United States. And the reason why you can't do that is if you're shipping weapons to ISIS or you're shipping uranium to these Middle Eastern countries, you need a parallel construction. You need the wands to do it. Now, I'm not saying it's just 6 wands. I'm saying they're bringing in lots and lots of programmers over the period of this program. But to me, Natalia Sova looks more like a satellite acquisition and interpretation program than it does a real person. We can't seem to serve her, can't seem to find her anywhere, can't seem to find any pictures. No one in Congress seems to know her. So again, if Congress wants to put out her pictures of where she's at the barbecue with the different representatives, fine with me. So that's this morning. That's day 30, version 1.